Julia here from JM2 Vintage. Welcome back to the channel. I am here today with the Ship With Me. These are all orders that came through over the weekend. Some big dollar sales that I cannot wait to walk you through. I always like to be able to bring you into what I sold, how long I had it in my closet for, what I got for it, just bring you into that part of my process. But before we get started here, if this is your first time here, if this is your first time stumbling on my channel, first and foremost, welcome. I am Julia, that is my name. We talk all things thrifting and vintage and the business of reselling on the internet. If that sounds like something that you might be into, consider hitting subscribe down below. I would love to have you along on this journey. But without further ado, guys, it is mid to late afternoon on Monday. Of course, my Monday mornings are always stacked. I've got a lot of things to do after I get back. So we've got to get these things packed up and over to the post office ASAP. So with that being said, why don't you go grab yourself a snack, grab yourself a drink, sit back, relax, and let's get into the shipments. So let's start this off with a bang, shall we? So this right here may be one of my best bins finds of all time. This is a John Varvatos goatskin leather blazer. So this is so soft and so lightweight in terms of the leather that when I got it, I thought it was ultra suede. But then you can whiff it, right? That's definitely leather. And it's John Varvatos, which is definitely a brand you want to be on the lookout for. That is the label if you've never seen it before. But this was such an exciting find. I'm trying to figure out how I can fold this. Be putting a little extra love into the packing here just because this is such an expensive piece and it is leather, and I just want to make sure that it stays in good shape while in transit. It's the holidays, anything can happen, snowstorms, whatever. And with this being leather and a suede in particular, you just have to be extra careful. I mean, and this is supple with a capital S. So these blazers retail, I want to say somewhere between $2,000 and $4,000. They are very expensive. And they're the kind of things that are they've been making this style forever. This is very much like John Varvatos' style. He's very rock and roll. It's the kind of stuff that you'd see Johnny Depp wearing. In fact, I think Johnny Depp wears quite a bit of John Varvatos. But it's the kind of stuff that exists outside of trends. You might see a more updated cut here and there, but for the most part, his cuts, his styles are pretty timeless and definitively rock and roll. So it's a brand I love to pick up because it is very expensive. It's got a very hardcore follower base. So it is a brand that I would be 100% comfortable with picking up at pretty much any price that I see it at. I'm gonna do a little double, triple wrap here. So even if this was just a regular ultra suede blazer, this would have been a find and a half. Because just John Varvatos stuff, I've had a bunch of their basic button-down shirts and stuff, and they still go for $40-50. It's an expensive brand, and people know it and people seek it out. But man, was I excited when I got this home and I realized what it was. So I had this listed for $350, and I had it listed for about 4 months. Of course, anything at this kind of price point is generally just gonna take a little bit longer to sell, just by nature of it being a more expensive thing, which is totally fine with me. I got an offer for $280, which I gladly accepted with a $1 cost of the bins, which this brought me to a profit of $212.68, and I hope he loves it. So, good start. Next up, this funky little vintage Y2K Muppet fur bolero shrug. I mean, I used to wear this kind of thing over a slip dress to the club. Oh, I remember picking it up, having all the flashbacks. This Muppet fur was everywhere back then. And BB's not a brand that I pick up a ton of, but this just being the age that it was, being what it was kind of a no-brainer. And this is one of those sweaters that I had so much interest in over the months that I had it. I knew I had done the right thing picking it up. It is still very wild to me. I know that in general, fashion is on a 20-year cycle, but it is still wild to me seeing this stuff. Because in my mind, I was wearing a handkerchief for a shirt 2 years ago. Not 20 years ago. And it's wild to see these kind of fashions coming back in because, I get it. Time flies, it really does. The next thing we're gonna see coming back into style is the 2010s corporate club wear. things, so can't wait for that. Get ready to dust off your peplum tops and pencil skirts and platform pumps. That's gonna be a thing again if we are following the like traditional geometry of trends coming back into style. You know, I always think about it like in the 90s when I started to become like aware of fashion, you know, like the thing that was hot was like bell bottoms and kind of hippie style stuff, and that was 20 years prior. So it makes sense. The 2010s was big on 80s, etc., etc. 20-year trend cycles. Obviously a million micro trends like happening in between, but in terms of mainstream, 20 years. Anyway, so I had this listed for $32. I had it for about 3 months. Again, had a ton of interest in it. Got an offer for $27, which I gladly accepted. And with a $1 cost of the bins, this brought me to a profit of $24.66. Happy to be moving this on. I hope she loves it. It is like, I just got such a kick out of finding this thing. Next up, you're all gonna yell at me. You all told me to keep this, but I think you're all underestimating exactly how messy of a person I am. This is one of like my personal grails. This is a beautiful white linen robe from Deji Studios. Now my grail is to find a pair of the pajamas. And man, was I tempted to keep this, but at the end of the day, like a white linen robe is just not practical for me. Like I'm usually walking around with a big thing of matcha. Like it would be seconds before I got some of that matcha on this thing. So what I decided to do, just so all of you know, since I know a lot of you were there, like when I found it, I decided to sell it and I'm going to earmark this money so I will find myself a black linen robe from them on the secondhand market, because matcha doesn't show up on black linen. Yeah. So this is a bit more rumpled than I would ever want this to be going out, but but my steamer had run out of water this morning, and when I went to go fill it in, I realized that my distilled water jug had split somehow and drained all over my laundry shelves. So how's your morning going? Yeah? Hopefully better than mine. I usually like to give everything a good steam and kind of get it looking pretty pristine before I send it out. And I mean, this wasn't bad or anything. This wasn't super wrinkled, but I do usually like to steam these things out before I send them. But it was not in the cards. I had just a little bit of that water left in the bottom of that jug. I got like half of a sweater done. So of course, if that's the worst thing that goes on in my day, like I'm a lucky girl. I am aware of that. But what a bugger. I mean, it was like a brand new jug. It was a brand new one of those big like shelf jugs of distilled water. And I mean, this is also a time to give you a nice like PSA to never ever put tap water in your steamer. Raise your hand if you've ever put tap water in your steamer and absolutely destroyed it. Distilled water only, and do vinegar baths semi-frequently at least. But yeah, Deji Studios linen is an absolute dream. Just so gorgeous, really high quality linen, beautiful styles, very minimalist, very like classic. They've been on my radar for so long, and this was the first piece I ever found, and I audibly squealed in the bins. So anyway, I had this listed for just 3 weeks. I had it listed at $140. These retail, I wanna say somewhere between $200 and $300. They're pretty expensive. So I had it listed for $140. I got an offer for $110, which I gladly accepted. Super sweet lady who bought it. And with a $1 cost of the bins, this brought me to a profit of $81.88. I'm telling you guys, some big dollar sales came through this weekend, and like, I'm gonna miss this. I'm gonna miss just having this in my house. Next up, this is a little cutie that my mom had found. This is a cute turtleneck from Talbot's. Now, I don't pick up a ton of Talbot's. Let me know, like, is Talbot's a brand that you pick up? I know it's a pretty expensive brand, but it's not something that I typically look at. I don't see a ton of it. I see a little bit more Chico's in my area than I do see Talbot's, but like, let me know. I know that there are some resellers out there that really love Talbot's, so let me know your experience with it. Do you pick it up? Do you only pick up specific things? Either way, I thought that this was such a good, like, chunky sweater. I think one of the trends coming up for this kind of fall winter is what they're calling like fisherman core. So think chunky sweaters, fisherman sweaters, think like the Quince or the Jenny Kane fisherman sweaters. I'll link them down below if you want to get your eyes on what they look like, or if you're like looking to purchase one. I have the Quince ones. I've got a black one and a white one, and I've had them for years and they are amazing. But use those fisherman keywords because that's going to be a thing. And this color is really pretty. It's just kind of like a cloud gray. So it was like a very light, like misty blue gray to it. And the yarn itself, it had like silk and wool. It had all these different fibers in it. Like a really interesting amount of different fibers in it. And it resulted in this really cool, like speckled yarn. Just gave it a really cool texture. It was also in like perfect condition. So anyway, I had this listed for $28. From my experience, Talbot's just doesn't sell for all that much. I mean, it's great stuff. It's really nice quality. And of course, if you're sourcing it from the bins, it's still gonna be plenty of meat on the bone for you. But if you're sourcing it at like, you know, sweaters in my local places are $7.99, $8.99. Like unless it's something really special, I might not touch the Talbot stuff. But like, again, like let me know, do you pick it up? Like I don't see it all that frequently in the bins, but should I be picking it up when I see it? Anyway, had this listed for $28. I had a closet clear out that ran and went back and forth on prices, and we landed on a sales price of $18 after just 1 week. And with, I think my mom got this at her bin, so we'll call it $1. With the dollar cost, this brought me to a profit of $13.40. I hope she loves it. It is a really, really cute sweater, and just like something, it's like a good basic, but it's got enough different about it to make it unique. And another sweater, and I think I've only got one other like Talbot's piece left. I mean, I've had this one for a little while, and to be totally honest, I didn't think that this was gonna sell until spring, just given the cheerful springy color. But it was this cute little diamond knit sweater. It's kind of lighter weight. It's got 3/4 length sleeves, slightly longer line, but in perfect condition. Like I knew it would go eventually just based on what it was. Like it is a very cute sweater, and I think it's 100% cotton. I'll tell you, it is sweater season indeed. I've moved so many sweaters and jackets over the past couple weeks. I don't know if you watched any of the hauls that I had the last couple weeks from when I went home, and a lot of the things that my mom found. She found all these chunky sweaters, and like my storage system is pretty finite. So anytime I bring in chunky sweaters, I'm like sweating because they take up so much space. So I'm happy that a lot of these are moving right now. I mean, not that I'm gonna turn away great chunky sweaters because they're great things to find in the bins. They tend to be very expensive retail, but again, I have a finite amount of space for my storage, so it always kind of freaks me out a little bit. So I had this listed for $32 for about 8 months. I have had this for a while, and I got an offer for $27, which I gladly accepted. I was excited to move this on, especially now right before Christmas, with it being like a very springy yellow sweater. And with a $1 cost of the bins, this brought me to a profit of $23.09. Hope she loves it. It is a really lovely little sweater. All right, next up here, now we've got a little Torrid dress. Again, Torrid kind of falling off for me. This was like a cute little boho dress. And this was something that I thought would go fairly quick. I think I got this in the beginning of summer. And it's funny, anymore, I just kind of leave it behind. I've seen quite a bit of it at the bins. You know, my hope is that there is another reseller out there at one of my locations that's picking these up that has like a good business in Torrid stuff. But for me, it has just really fallen off the deep end. I think I'm down to like 1 or 2 pieces left. I used to pick it up a ton, and it was always like a guaranteed super quick sale. Like back in the day, it was, you would get a Torrid piece and it would be in and out of your closet in like a week. And now it takes months, and it's usually, you know, 15, 20 bucks. Unless it's something that's kind of alternative, unless it's something a little bit on like the goth side. But that is the nature of fashion, in one day and out the next, right? Isn't that what Heidi used to say? So I had this listed for 7 months. So that's, yeah, like April or May when I found this. And I had it listed for $32, and I got an offer for $23, which I was glad to accept. I was ready to move this on. And with a $1 cost of the bins, this brought me to a profit of $16.61. Again, happy to be moving this on. It is a really cute dress, so I hope she loves it. Next up, this is one of my favorite little funky vintage pieces that I found. So this is from the 80s. It's a little like denim shirt. This is not chambray. This is like lightweight denim. The thing I love the most about this, and I will pick up these like embroidered denim shirts anytime I see them. If you look at that embroidery, that is like translated from French, that is the recipe for paella. It's so fun. This I really thought was gonna be a Depop sale, and it turned out to be an eBay sale. And I'll tell you, this kind of stuff has been popping on eBay recently. But this was just too cute, too unique. Had to pick it up. I mean, again, these are the kind of things that I think some people will leave behind, but this is so like my flavor. I mean, could you imagine wearing this to one of those like Ina Garten parties? Have you seen this where everybody shows up dressed like Ina Garten? If you don't know who Ina Garten is, please go watch The Barefoot Contessa. Immediately that woman is absolute positive life goals. What I'm saying is, if you're having one of those parties, please invite me. I'll be there. I apologize if you hear dogs barking in the background. My neighbors have, I don't know if they have somebody visiting or what the case is, but they have dogs that sound like they are fighting to the death in their backyard. So I had this for about 6 months. This actually took a little bit longer to sell than I thought it would, but I knew it would go. And I had it listed for $32 and I got an offer for $25, which I gladly accepted with a $1 cost of the bins. This brought me to a profit of $19.56. So I hope she absolutely loves this. This is just one of those special little pieces that I will remember forever. I mean, paella, that's Spanish. And it's anyway, I digress. Next up, now this I've had for a while. This is the most beautiful beaded top from Parker. Parker is a very expensive brand. I don't know if they're still around, but very, very high end. I think that they were sold at like Saks and Bergdorf's. This was probably a good $400 shirt back when it was new. And there's some beads missing here and there. There's like 1 or 2 little rows, but to look at it, like you can't tell. Like this is just gorgeous. Very Art Deco looking. All silk, silk bow, silk tie with bugle beads and square sequins and just stunning. I have a feeling that this is gonna be worn on New Year's Eve. I'm gonna carefully fold this with tissue paper because I don't want the beads catching on each other. So bear with me as I speed through kind of folding and wrapping this. Thing that I knew was going to take a little bit longer to sell. I picked up a couple Parker tops that were similar to this. I haven't seen one in a while, but I went through a month or two where I found quite a few of them. But still, and I was aware that this was something that was, first of all, it was like a size extra small. It's silk, it's beaded, it was a little bit of a higher price. I'm still going to pick up stuff like this. I just, like, my heart will not let me leave this kind of craftsmanship at the bins. So I had this listed for $48. I had it for about 11 months. Again, I knew this was going to be a slightly longer sale. No surprise that it's selling right before New Year's. This popped through as a full price sale. So with a $1 cost of the bins, this brought me to a profit of $43.06. And I hope she absolutely loves it. It is just so beautiful. That's going to be a really, really special thing for somebody to wear. Also to note, before anybody freaks out about that John Barbados coat, I did find a box to put it in. So it is like quadruple wrapped and now in a box. It will be safe for shipping. I could almost hear the comments like as I was wrapping it in poly bags. So next up here, this is a cute pair of pants from Sol Angeles. I had never seen pants like this. They kind of reminded me of like scrubs, but they're just like 100% cotton twill, straight leg, pull-on pants with a drawstring. But Sol Angeles is super expensive. I know it's sold at like Kitson. It's sold at like higher end boutiques like that, kind of similar places where you would find like Aviator Nation. These probably retail like $150 going by their prices. It's a pricey brand. And I love their t-shirts. I've yet to find one of their sweatshirts, but I will. Oh, I will. These really like good high quality textiles, just really like soft t-shirts, soft sweatshirts. Definitely like a California vibe to it. Let me know, like, do you find Sol Angeles anywhere else in the country? Have you found it? What did you find? Did you pick it up? Did you sell it? Like, let me know, because to me, this feels like a brand that I was not on my radar until I moved to LA, and like style-wise, it feels very California. So interested to hear if anybody else is finding it elsewhere in the country. So I had this listed for about 4.5 months, and I had it listed for $38, and I got an offer for $30, which I gladly accepted. With a $1 cost of the bins, this brought me to a profit of $23 even. So they love it. Super, super comfy, like great basic pants. Next up, this was such an interesting thing. I found this a while ago, and I struggled so hard to photograph it. It's this beautiful like wool and cashmere wrap, but it's got these tiny little sleeves, right? So it's super wide, but look at this embroidery on it. It's got this beautiful butterfly and floral embroidery. Like, I can't even show it to you on here because it's such a confusing thing to show. And I knew that, like, to the right person, this would be a special piece. Like, this is definitely like a great kind of topper piece. I've just never seen a shawl like this. So you see like the little sleeves, and then it's got these like cascade front with like blanket fringe on it. But look at that embroidery, isn't that lovely? And again, it is wool and cashmere. It does not have a label on it. Like, it has a contents tag, but it doesn't have a label on it. It didn't have an RN number on it. So I have no idea who made it, but I do know that it is beautiful. I just think that it took as long to sell as it did because I just didn't know how to photograph it. Just like I don't know how to fold it. So thanks for bearing with me here. This feels very mumuch in that like artsy kind of art wear. Like, I could see somebody wearing something like this to like a party at the Huntington Gardens. Which, if you have never been to Huntington Gardens and you are planning a trip out to Los Angeles, I like strongly recommend you take a day and go to Huntington Gardens. It is absolutely beautiful. Then drive around Pasadena and look at all the beautiful old houses. Anyway, so I had this listed for 7 or 8 months. Again, was not surprised it took this long to sell. Just the pictures did not do it justice. I had it listed for $52 and I got an offer for $40, which I was glad to accept. With a $1 cost of the bins, this brought me to a profit of $29.67. This was totally one of those like gut pickups when I was in the bin. I'm just like, this is something special. So glad that this is going on to a new home because it is beautiful, and I hope the buyer feels special and beautiful in it. All right, next up, we've got this cute turtleneck from Sundry. This is like a little wisp of a thing. Sundry is sold at Anthropologie, also at similar boutiques like Soul Angeles is. And if you find one of their more like significant pieces, they can go for a good price. It's just like a long line maroon. I feel like this is very like on trend right now. The maroons and the browns of the world are really having their moment. Something like this is not something that I would go and pay up for necessarily in like a regular price thrift store. You're just not gonna get that much for something like this. I wanna say that this probably retailed like $48. It's cotton, it's lightweight, it's, you know, basically a t-shirt but a turtleneck. But if you find their sweaters, their button downs, their sweatshirts, their dresses, they retail up there. But I love their stuff for like me. So if you are in the market for some good quality basics, check out Sundry. Again, they do sell them at Anthro. I do recommend it, but if you can find it on the secondhand market, even better. So I had this listed for 4 or 5 months. Again, this is definitely like a fall winter piece, and I found it like dead of summer. And I had it listed for $26. I got an offer for $18, which I did accept with a $1 cost of the bins. This brought me to a profit of $11.80. Hope she loves it. Again, keep your eyes out for those maroons, those browns. Those are the hot colors in fashion right now, especially if you can find something that is brown suede. Next up, oh, this was so cute. This is a little girl's dress from Jacquardi. I don't know, I'm probably saying that wrong. It is a French brand, very, very expensive. This is a cute little sweater dress, absolutely precious. These retail like $150. They are quite spendy. This is one of those kids brands that I will be keeping my eyes out for. You know, I like my Janie and Jack, but Janie and Jack generally sells between $20, $25. This looks like it has sold comps, you know, between $25 and $35. And some even a little bit higher. But also if you are like, if you've got a daughter and you're dressing her, and you want like a little special occasion dress, check out this brand on the secondhand market. They are very, very cute. And again, super high quality. I love stuff like this, you know, for parents to pick up. Like, number one, you're gonna get something that's much more expensive and much more high quality than you're gonna get at like a Target. And the best part about it is that the second your kid grows out of it, you're gonna be able to like turn around and resell it for the same price that you bought it for. Because stuff like this and Janie and Jack, they're not super trendy pieces, you know, like this is classic. This could easily be 15 years old and we would be none the wiser. So I just, you know, like buying kids clothes is so crazy because you are just rebuying like every 2 months when they grow out of things. So I love the idea of buying high quality secondhand and then just reselling it as soon as they're out of that size. So I had this listed for just 1 week at $38. and I had a lot of likes on it. So I got an offer for $30, which I gladly accepted. And with a $1 cost of the bins, this brought me to a profit of $23 even. Like I said, I'm very selective with the kids brands I do pick up. This is one that will be on my radar from here on out. It's funny, I didn't know it before I picked that up. When I grabbed it, it just felt so nice that it was one of those things that just kind of like piqued my interest. All right, next up, we're almost done here, is this gorgeous sweater. This is one that my mom found from Vince. Vince, obviously one of those incredibly expensive brands. This one had its contents tag removed, so I'm not sure what the fibers are. My first thought is that it is silk cotton blend. But I could also easily see this being merino. I'm not quite sure, but it is lovely. I love the color. I like the knit pattern goes horizontal, so it's like a little bit different. But I do love Vince. It is nice and soft, nice and smooth. And it's funny, like every once in a blue moon, I'll pop into like Saks here, or even like off Fifth by Saks, Fifth Avenue, which is their like outlet store. If you are unfamiliar, I don't know how many markets have those. And I'll see like a Vince sweater, and even at like off Fifth, it'll still be like $198. And ooh, you forget how expensive these things are when we're able to find them in the bins or buy them secondhand. I mean, crazy thing is, something like this, you buy it secondhand, you're gonna pay the same price that you would pay. You probably pay less than what you would pay for something at like Aerie or American Eagle. And don't get me wrong, I have some favorites from Aerie and American Eagle, but like, this is the way to do it, guys. Anyway, I had this listed for just one day. Again, this is one of the pieces that my mom found. If you have not watched those hauls, I will link them down below. They were super fun. She got so much good stuff. I had it listed for $42 and I got an offer for $35, which I gladly accepted with a $1 cost of the bins. Well, my mom got that at her bin, so it was probably a little bit less than $1. But that brought me to a profit of $27 even. But again, you know, it's like $35, that is less than you will pay for anything at Gap or at American Eagle or anything like that. And I mean, it's probably a $300-400 sweater. I understand that it's tough for some people, myself included. Like, it is hard to find things that I like in my size. When I do purchase new, I try to purchase stuff that's like an investment piece, really high quality stuff that's gonna last me a long time. Look on secondhand first. And finally, and I have you guys to thank for this. This is a vintage LL Bean barn coat. And I found this, and I was gonna pick it up because it's LL Bean, and like vintage LL Bean sells really well for me no matter like what it is. And I knew that like barn coats were starting to like bump in popularity. And one of you chimed in and your exact words were something to the tune of like, aim high with that price, girl. So I did. It's in great condition. And the more research I did on this exact piece and this tag, I'm almost positive this is vintage from the 70s. And it's a size 2X. So pretty rare combination. I also love this color. Like, the barber coats are apparently like the gold standard here, but, and don't get me wrong, I love a barber coat. I've had a barber coat for 15 years. I remember saving up and buying it, and I love it. And I've watched it come in and out of like haute fashion like 4 times since I bought it. But I mean, barber coats are just a forever purchase. But something like this, I mean, the brown and the blue, it's a unique color combo. It's vintage from the 70s, it's LL Bean, and I feel like when you get to this age of LL Bean, like, that generally means that it's gonna be with the person who bought it forever. You know, like, sure, we'll see 90s LL Bean out there quite a bit, but 70s LL Bean, not all that frequent. Any of you guys in the Northeast, let me know, do you find a lot of like old LL Bean? I bet it sells really well for you. Like, tell us how you do with all that stuff. I know I have some viewers up there in Maine that probably see some real gems. I do love LL Bean, like, just as a company, right? Like, they're like Patagonia. They just, you know, they stand by their stuff. So it goes without saying that you should be keeping your eyes out for stuff like this and using barn jacket as a keyword. And here's why. I had this listed for $140 and I had it listed for just under 1 month. I got an offer for $100, which I gladly accepted. With a $1 cost of the bins, this brought me to a profit of $79 even. I'm telling you, some really good sales over this weekend. I hope she absolutely loves this. I mean, because this is just, it's such a find. But that is it, guys. Thank you so much for hanging with me while I literally get my work done. It is always so nice to have somebody to yak with while I am packing up my orders and getting them ready to go to the post office. I hope you are having good sales sales. I hope the holidays are serving you well. But as per usual, I've got to get moving. I'm running out of daylight. I'm running out of time. I got to get these things loaded into my car and off to the post office. So guys, if you had fun, please consider leaving a like or comment on this video. Of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. But without further ado, guys, have the most beautiful weekend. Happy hunting, and I will see you in the next one.